Hey, welcome back to the garden. We're here again, and as you can see, my garden's got some new flowers in them. Yesterday was my birthday, and I had some friends that know that I like plants, know that I like flowers, and so they gave me this lovely orchid. And then I don't know what those red leaves are called, but the red and the yellow is just absolutely gorgeous in that. And I just really can't thank them enough. I had a small party with some friends and my kids, and I got some crystals. Can't imagine why anyone would want to give me crystals. But anyway, this is a beautiful picture jasper. Isn't that gorgeous? This is kind of unique. It needs to be set into a piece of jewelry, but it's a geode that someone then cut into a triangular pattern, but left the druce that you can see there. Then the same person gave me a moon made out of lapis lazuli. And when you can see it in real light and to get close up, you can see the gold strands, which is what lapis is known for having in it. But I saved the best for last. This is malachite and azurite. And it's hard to see in this light, but you see the streaks. It almost looks like a black opal when you see it in real life. It's very pretty. And I want to thank her very much for being such a sweetie, giving me that good stuff. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with them yet, but I'm sure I will find some fun thing to do with them. Today I'm going to talk about the garden and growing, and I'm going to talk about the garden as a metaphor. I've said this before from Meister Eckhart. What we plant in the soil of contemplation, we shall reap in the harvest of action. And I think that's kind of what a garden symbolically means to people. The other thing that I found was to plant a garden is to believe in tomorrow. And that quote comes from Audrey Hepburn, not an old monk in Germany or France. I think Master Eckhart was in France. I really think of gardens that way. I think I had an herb garden at one point, and gardens can be such a centering force for people in their lives. It gives them something to do. It gives you something to practice your patience with, and it's just such a change from the way our lives run otherwise when you're working in a garden, unless of course you're professionally a gardener, in which case you luck out, you get to live there all the time. But some of the things that you learn when you do a garden that are good lessons for life is you have to be willing to do the crappy jobs. You have to be willing to turn over the dirt. You have to be willing to break it up. You have to get the soil ready for the seeds you're going to plant or for whatever you're going to put in there, whether it's seeds or something else. And I don't think anybody starts a garden that doesn't have big visions and big dreams. And you go to that garden store and you start seeing all those plants laid out there. And which ones can you take? Which ones can you make grow? I've done that. Was going to put a container garden around a patio, and it absolutely did not work, but I was glad I did it. You have to have patience with the garden. You put the seeds in, and then you just kind of have to stand back and let them do what seeds do. I mean, we want it all like today. We want to know the answer today. But that doesn't happen in a garden. And sometimes you get the wrong answer. I've actually gotten packets of seeds that the wrong seeds were in them. And I was planning for one color and ended up with another, which is actually, I like the color I ended up with better. So it's a good thing. You have to deal with things that are totally out of your control when you garden, because there's going to be hail. At least if you live in the part of Texas I do, there's probably going to be hail. There's going to be a lot of other things. There's not going to be enough water. There's going to be too much water. The soil is going to need to be worked or reworked another way, because it doesn't staying like it should. It's not hanging in where it does. You have to put in edging. You have to put in a lot of time and consideration. And if it's a vegetable garden, the upshot of it is if you don't do the work, you don't get to eat. So it's really important to put that in. And the other thing I liked about gardening was when I had someone I gardened with, where we could kind of share looking at the things. I either had friends I gardened with, or my husband and I had an herb garden behind our condo. And all the neighbors used to come up, and I very clearly went in the beds and marked what was thyme, what was sage, what was rosemary. How people couldn't know what a rosemary is, but just saying. And especially in the thymes, though, because I used to have a lemon thyme and a lot of different flavored thymes, and I have them each in their own patch and marked. And when people would, by the very nature of being in a condominium, we had people coming and going. We were owners, we lived there, but people come up to me and they go, before I move out, what's that stuff you always give me to put on my fish? What's that good thing for this? So, so it gave you another reason to engage with other people and to share. And it makes you very thankful when you do a garden. When things turn out well and you taste that first tomato that doesn't taste like any tomato you've ever had in your life, it's absolutely wonderful. And the other thing you learn in a garden is sometimes you just have to let things go. When a plant's grown and produced all the fruit or all the veg or all of whatever it's going to do, you have to learn how to trim it, how to take care of it, how to either pull it out and get it out. It's so that other things can grow in its place. It makes you have to say goodbye sometimes to what has been an old friend that you went out and saw every day and talked to. But it's lived its purposefulness. And sometimes I think in our own attitudes, we need to decide, has that used all the purposefulness it had? And how do I go about it? And how do I move on? And how do I understand something's outgrown its usefulness, literally? And then, really at the end for me, gardening is all about love. And the way I got into liking gardening was as a child, my mother had a rose garden in our backyard. And it was just, when you grow up in this stuff, you think, oh, this is how everybody's life is. I thought everybody had people just stop, get out of their cars and walk through their backyard to look at the roses, because her roses were magnificent. She won awards all around where we lived, and she loved those roses. And she taught me the name of every kind of rose and how it worked and stuff. And she loved the flowers. She loved the flowering rose bushes. As a kid, I was like, the roses are very pretty, and they are very pretty, but I liked things I could eat. And I would always bring home a tomato plant from somewhere at the end of school, my grade school years. And she'd stick it in this back corner of the garden. And then as soon as she could, she'd try to get rid of it. But a couple of years, I managed to save the tomato plants and actually grew real tomatoes. And I guess that's why I like herbs so much. Herbs are just weeds with a purpose. They're very flavorful and they make a difference. And so it's kind of like when you say the word garden, it's what kind of a garden do you have? Do you have one that's full of absolute picture perfect, award-winning roses? Or do you have a garden full of herbs and other salady items that you can grow? Because I live in a place that's warmer, we generally can get 3 gardens a year out. And I have friends who are up north who are just beginning to put the very first part of their little gardens in. It's a very different sort of, you have to kind of go with the environment that's around you when you're planting your garden. And I think that's like it is in a lot of parts of our lives. We need to do that too. So that's kind of what I want to talk about my garden today, and you're welcome to it. You can see all the pretty new things we have. For my card today, I pulled, and I did pull this earlier, and I was so happy when I got it. I got the 4 of Wands, and the 4 of Wands in that picture are the ultimate mysteries of creation, is the force that's contained within a seed. They're planting seeds because, they don't have little plants in their hands. They're just planting with the seeds. When planting a garden, we prepare the soil much like we would prepare a cozy bed for a child. We cover this seed with a rich soil in order to allow it a period of gestation. Soon it blossoms into triumph, bursting forth from the ground and reaching upwards towards the sky. The metaphor of the seed is applicable to so many parts of our lives. The seed of truth, the germination of our consciousness, the seed of knowledge. This card depicts planting new wisdom and the reconstruction of intuitive foundations. This is a 4 of Wands, in the deck, and it's usually that. And it does mean creating the 4 points to create new beginnings, new foundations. This garden has 4 corners representing the 4 seasons and the 4 cardinal directions. In ancient Greece, the symbol of the seasons were 4 women. Summer was adorned with a crown of grain. Autumn wore a basket of fruit. Spring wore a wreath of flowers, but winter was bareheaded. The fairies pictured in this card represent the fairies of springtime, when the new planting takes place in the new season and the sun and the sprouting begins. In your life, new ideas are seeding themselves constantly. Prepare your life for the fruits that you will bear. Plant your creativity and let it grow. And the other lesson from a garden is, if an idea's served its time and it doesn't work anymore, maybe time to let it go. So that's kind of where I am with the garden today. I will be on Andrea's show tomorrow, Lilac Lantern, 6 o'clock Central Time, 7 o'clock her time, I think. I'll make sure that I'll verify that with her. She'll post it on her community page and I'll post it on mine. The other thing I wanted to let people know is in preparing my garden inside myself, I'm taking a week off, a real week off, not a week off to just do some other part of this, but a real week off to kind of slow down and get myself back together and rest my energies. And just, I was getting to a point where I was getting tired inappropriately and like falling asleep in a chair while people are talking to me. So it's time at that point for me to slow it down, listen to some music, read some books, do some things that I like to do like that, and just enjoy being quiet for a while. So there won't be any more shows until the 10th of May. I don't think there'll be any more shows unless something comes up that I really think sprouts in my head and just spews forth. But I want to thank all the people who subscribe to me, who like and who share my programs. I'm entering some really interesting phases. I'm done with grids. I'm just beginning to book grid readings in again for people. Like I said, I'm starting up again the 10th of May. And for those of you who have the heart chakra egg, my fabricator had a family emergency, and 2 weeks ago, she packed it all up and went to where that person was to get that settled. She is now back in her studio, happily cranking out eggs. Now, I know that's delayed eggs much more than we ever meant for them to be delayed, but this is a hand done work where we look over every step of the way to make sure that egg will be what you want. We don't mass produce them out of some factory in some other country. It's done in a condo's garage in Denver. So for those of you who've been waiting, I'm going to try and get some notes out to say sorry, but we expect to be mailing them next Monday, the 10th. And she's, she had to do what she had to do. And we're people who are doing this. So, no machines doing this, just the people pouring the stuff and setting the stones and writing the materials. So that's the explanation on that. But anyway, I look forward to seeing you at Andrea's tomorrow. And I hope you have a lovely week. And I hope if you get a chance, you get to plant some seeds in whatever soil you want and see what comes up. Have a good day. Bye.